You've heard the stories. Australia, the land of golden beaches, world-class coffee, and a lifestyle most people dream of. But if you're a doctor thinking about making the move, there's one question you can't ignore. How much will I actually earn? Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on what international medical graduates really make in Australia. From the juicy gross salary that grabs your attention to the taxes and deductions that chip away at it. And finally, the number that actually lands in your bank account each month. This isn't just about numbers, it's about understanding what your salary means for your lifestyle, your financial goals, and your career down under. So, if you're curious about whether Australia lives up to the hype, stay tuned because we are diving into the full breakdown dollar by dollar. When you explore the Queensland Health website, you'll uncover a detailed breakdown of salaries for doctors, from resident medical officers to senior medical officers. It provides a clear picture of earnings across different experience levels, including fortnightly, annual, and hourly pay rates. Plus, it highlights the wage adjustments for the financial years starting July 2022 up to July 2024. This information is a goldmine for understanding your earning potential in Queensland healthcare system. Whether you are a newly qualified doctor or a seasoned professional, it shows exactly how your role and hours worked translate into real numbers, giving you a transparent view of your financial prospects in Australia. Here are two of my payslips from when I worked as a registrar during a relieving term. Now, if you're wondering what a relieving term is, I've shared my experiences in previous videos. And I'll be creating short reels on Instagram to explain these kinds of topics in more depth. So be sure to follow me there. I specifically chose these payslips because they offer a great insight into how your pay is actually calculated in Australia. You'll see how working hours influence your income, how much you've earned over time, and even what annual leave pay looks like. These are essential details for anyone planning to work as a doctor in Australia. However, here's a big disclaimer. You won't always see these figures. If you're rostered for regular shifts and working just 38 hours a week, your income will be significantly lower. These payslips reflect the additional hours and shifts worked during a relieving term. I'm also steering clear of discussing the cost of living here, as that's an entirely separate topic. I'll cover that in another video, including a breakdown of how much I save each month, so stay tuned for that. Finally, if you find this content helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel. It helps the channel grow, gain recognition, and motivates me to create even more informative videos for medical doctors looking to advance their career in Australia. Let me introduce you to this payslip from my time working as a registrar in a relieving term. It's packed with valuable information, so let me walk you through the sections briefly. At the top, we have basic details, including the pay date, employer information, and my specific role. Below that, you'll see the breakdown of hours worked and corresponding pay rates under the type section. This includes everything from regular salary, overtime, and penalty rates for extra hours like weekends or fatigue shifts. On the right, you'll notice two key columns: hours or units worked and the amount earned for each category. These give a clear picture of how your income is calculated. At the bottom, there's the deductions section, showing things like income tax and superannuation contributions. Finally, it calculates the net income, the amount that actually lands in your bank account. Now let's discuss in further details. Let's start with my fortnightly base salary. During week 1, I worked my standard hours, which you can see distributed across different days, totaling 38 hours. At my hourly rate of $65, this comes to $2,483 for my regular hours. Now, let's look at the interesting section of my payslip that shows my recreational leave period. During this time, I was on annual leave for 38 hours, which you can see broken down across week 2 of the pay period. What's particularly interesting here is that I not only received my regular base rate of $65 per hour, totaling $2,483 for the 38 hours. But I also got what we call leave loading. This leave loading is calculated at 22.92% of my base pay, giving me an additional $569. This leave loading is a fantastic benefit we get in Australia. It's essentially bonus pay while you're on a holiday. The idea behind it is to compensate for any penalty rates or overtime you might have earned if you were working. So even though I'm taking time off, I'm actually earning more than my regular base salary. For those of you considering working in Australia, this is definitely one of those benefits that makes a real difference to your overall package. Now, let's look at another important section of my payslip, which shows two key components of my regular earnings. This breakdown will give you a clear picture of what makes up my additional income before we get into overtime and penalties. First, you'll notice something called the RMO or PHO development allowance. I have received $101 for this. This is an important benefit that Queensland Health provides to support our professional development as medical officers. It is automatically included in each payslip, which is a nice bonus on top of the base salary. Now let's look at my meal allowances. During this period, I've claimed two meal allowances at $16 each, totaling $32. You are entitled to these when you work certain shifts or extended hours. It might seem like a small amount, but these allowances add up over time and help cover those late night hospitals cafeteria runs. These additional components complement our base salary as doctors in the Queensland Health system. In the next section, we'll dive into how overtime and penalty rates can significantly boost these figures. Let's look at how shift penalties and afternoon loadings work in my payslip. During this period, I worked several afternoon shifts which attracted a 15% loading. You can see I worked 28 hours with this loading at a rate of $9.8 per hour, giving me an additional $274. There's also a special Saturday loading of 50% for the 10 hours I worked on Saturday. This attracted a rate of $32.67 per hour, resulting in $326.7 extra in my pay. These loadings are really important to understand because they can significantly boost your base pay. The afternoon shift loading compensates for working outside regular hours, while the Saturday loading recognizes the sacrifice of working on weekends. Together, these shift penalties added $601.25 to my fortnightly earnings. Now let's talk about overtime, which can significantly boost your earnings. During this period, I worked 11.75 hours of overtime at a rate of double time. That's 2 times my base rate. At $130.7 per hour, this added $1,500 to my pay. You can see how these overtime hours were distributed throughout the week 1, 2 hours on Monday, 1.75 on Tuesday, 4 hours on Wednesday, 1.5 on Thursday, and 2.5 on Friday. This overtime was necessary during my relieving term to cover additional shifts and ensure continuous patient care. It's important to note that claiming overtime involves a formal process. For each overtime shift, you need to submit an overtime claim form detailing the specific task performed and the clinical justification for the extended hours. This form goes to your rota coordinator, who verifies the claims against the department's needs and roster's requirements. Once verified, it's forwarded to the medical director for final approval. While working overtime isn't just about the financial compensation, it's about providing essential medical coverage. The double time rate makes it worthwhile, especially when you're picking up extra shifts or staying back to complete important clinical tasks. Just remember to document everything thoroughly to ensure smooth processing of your claims. Let me explain the fatigue penalty rates in my payslip. When you work extended hours, Queensland Health recognizes the impact of fatigue on healthcare workers through additional compensation. I received 2 types of fatigue penalties during this period. First, there's a 1.5 times rate for the first 10 hours. which earned me $98 per hour, totaling $980. Then for an additional 2.5 hours, the rate increased to double time at $130 per hour, adding another $326. These fatigue penalties are crucial because they acknowledge the physical and mental toll of working prolonged hours. In total, these fatigue related payments added $1,300 to my earnings. It's important to note that these rates are designed not just as compensation but also as a deterrent to excessive working hours that could impact patient care. Now let's look at the deductions section of my payslip. The first item is income tax, which accounts to $2,650. This is the amount withheld by the Australian Taxation Office based on my income bracket. Now you will see REMSERV at $426. From this amount, I received $346.54 as part of my salary sacrifice arrangement. I'll be creating a dedicated video that deep dives into salary sacrificing and REMSERV. It's a fantastic benefit for healthcare workers in Australia that can optimize your take-home pay. So stay tuned for that. Finally, there's the superannuation contribution of $248 which goes to my super account. For those of you coming from the UK, superannuation is similar to your NHS pension scheme. I'll be doing a detailed comparison of these systems in an upcoming video. Adding all these deductions up comes to $3,325, leaving me with a net income of $5,788 for this fortnight. Now let me show you my payslip from the following fortnight. You'll notice right away that the gross pay has decreased significantly from $9,100 to $5,900. This reduction might seem dramatic, but it perfectly illustrates how variable our income can be from fortnight to fortnight as doctors in Queensland healthcare system. The difference comes down to several factors, including fewer overtime hours, different shift patterns, and changes in penalty rates. We'll break down each of these components in detail, just as we did with the previous payslip, so you can understand exactly how these variations affect our take-home pay. Let's go through each section step by step to see what makes up this fortnight's earning. Let's look at my regular hours and leave for this fortnight. During week 2, I worked 28 hours at my base rate of $65, which came to $1,862. This is lower than my usual 38 hours because I was on sick leave for one shift. I also received my standard RMO PHO development allowance of $101, which continues regardless of hours worked. During my night shifts in week 2, I earned a 15% loading for 28.5 hours at $9.8 per hour, adding $279 to my pay. Night shift loading compensates for working outside regular hours and the impact on our circadian rhythm. You'll notice I was on sick leave for one shift, 9.5 hours. Queensland Health provides paid sick leave at my base pay rate of $65, which came to $620. This is an important benefit that ensures we are supported when we need to take time off due to illness. Let's look at the superannuation contributions in this payslip. I have two types of contributions going into my super account. My voluntary contribution of $248, which I've chosen to deduct from my pre-tax salary. My employer's contribution of $741, which is automatically paid by Queensland Health. Let's do the math on what's actually going into my super account for this fortnight. $248 my contribution plus $741 employer contribution equals to $989 total contribution. Let's do the math on what's actually going into my super account this fortnight. $248 of my contribution plus $741 from employer attributes to total $989. The employer contribution is calculated at approximately 12.5% of base salary, which is significant benefit. Even if I choose not to make any voluntary contributions, Queensland Health would still contribute this amount to my superannuation. This system ensures we are building our retirement savings with each paycheck. Remember, these contributions are in addition to my take-home pay of $3,900. Now let's look at the deductions that were taken from my gross pay this fortnight. First, there's income tax of $1,328, which is calculated based on my income bracket and tax-free threshold. Next is my REMSERV pre-tax deduction of $426. As mentioned earlier, I'll be making a dedicated video about salary sacrificing and its benefits, as it's a complex but valuable topic for healthcare workers in Australia. The third deduction is my voluntary superannuation contribution of $248 going into my super plan. These deductions total $2,000, which when subtracted from my gross pay of $5,900 leaves me with a net income of $3,900. This is the actual amount that was deposited in my bank account for this fortnight. It's worth noting that while these deductions might seem substantial, they include important benefits like tax advantages through salary sacrificing and retirement savings through superannuation. And there you have it, a comprehensive breakdown of what doctors actually earn in Queensland Health. As you can see, your income can vary significantly from fortnight to fortnight, depending on your shifts, overtime, and various allowances. I hope this detailed walkthrough has given you valuable insights into Australian healthcare payment system. Remember, this is just one example of payslips during a relieving term. Your actual earning will depend on your role, experience, and working patterns. If you found this information helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to tap the notification bell to stay updated on upcoming topics. Share this video with your colleagues who might be considering a move to Australia. It could help them make an informed decision about their career. Drop your questions in the comments below and let me know what other aspects of working as a doctor in Australia you'd like me to cover. Until next time, thanks for watching.